Alright, welcome to everyone's video. In this one, I'll be talking about a $1,400 stimulus check that will be given to between 50 million and 100 million low-income and fixed-income Social Security Retirement Disability (SSD) survivors. Spouses, SSI recipients, veterans, low-income individuals, seniors, and individuals with disabilities. And since it is the main topic of the movie, let's delve into it and go over all the specifics right now. Is a highly contentious topic and an often asked subject that I receive practically daily in the comments section below, but I do want to concentrate on the 50 million to 100 million people that fall into this category, who are currently eligible for a $1,400 stimulus check and who are all low-income or fixed-income beneficiaries. I have a brief question, which may seem extremely simple, but would you be willing to share in the comments below if you were to receive a one-time $1,400 check transferred into your bank account, placed on your Direct Express card, or delivered? Once more, obviously, everyone's circumstance is quite different, but I'm just really wondering if you're interested in sharing in the comment area below. To you in some way, how would you spend that money? How would you use that money? I'm simply curious as to what the current needs are. I know that everyone could use more money, and I accept that. But what would that money actually be used for? Utilized for, all right, that's just a question I have. Feel free to ignore it if you don't want to respond. I'm just really interested in knowing if you'd be willing to share it below. I enjoy reading those comments, but once more, I'm wondering if there's anything in common with them. Is there a theme that appears in the majority of the comments? Or is it simply kind of, I do want to go over the specifics because, all things considered, I'm just curious. I also recall this much from a few years back when we received stimulus checks, so you can see how I'll tell you how many people those checks were sent to. 85% of the population, or roughly 282 million people at the time. That's crazy, right? Given that there were roughly 333 million people in the country at the time those checks were sent. Inc. Distributed stimulus checks, covering 85% of the population, or little over 282 million individuals. That's a huge number, and to be completely honest, it is completely unneeded. We do not require stimulus checks. Reaching out to 85% of the population, we simply don't think it's right. Sure, 85% of people will happily accept checks, but they don't really need them, so that might be a very controversial move. It's awkward of me to say, but I'm simply telling you the truth about how things are. Everyone doesn't need it, but they'll accept it anyhow. In any case, I want to run through the specifics of this matter very quickly, but before we delve a little bit deeper, I would really appreciate it if you could do me a tremendous favor, if you haven't already. Please do me a favor by clicking the subscribe button directly below the video. It's completely free, and I'm always here to help. I'm always keeping an eye on the news and performing the research on your behalf and doing everything in my power to support you through this difficult moment. I understand. I've seen the comments. I've been here for you every day for the last, 3 years? And a half years or more. Thousands of films every day. I get it. From the comments below, I can see that the battle is real and that many people are currently a really difficult financial situation, which is awful to see, but I'm getting by. So once more, thank you so much for being here. I sincerely appreciate that we need to stick together during these difficult times. I promise to do everything in my power for you, so once again, thank you very much. Please subscribe below and feel free to use the share button to send this video to your friends. Social media. Okay, thank you very much for watching. Let me explain the specifics. As I previously stated, I laid some foundational work, and as of just a moment ago, 282 million people received the checks a few years ago, so this is probably one of the reasons why there was a lot of inflation. But to be honest with you, I don't really buy that. I believe there was some inflation as a result of it, but over the course of roughly a year, they produced $6 trillion in stimulus checks. Of those, we received the 12,200 and the 600. The 14,400 cover around 850 billion give or take, a little over $850. So that's about a sixth, not even a sixth, of the total amount of money created in over a 12-month period of time. So sure, It did contribute to some inflation, but not all of it, as some like to blame the stimulus checks for. I know about that. What happened to the other, perhaps, $5.15 trillion? That's my main concern. Where did that go? I believe that also contributed to a great deal of inflation, but whatever. Let's talk. Going over the specifics. So in the end, it really doesn't matter if it's a $1,400 stimulus check or any other stimulus check for any dollar number. Just fill in the blank with any money amount. Consider that 1080. Apologies. 282 million people in the nation require a check. All right? I'll just respond to it on your behalf. No, no, definitely not. But we would be happy to accept one if one were made available. But when we look at the actual figures, we're looking at between 50 and 100 million people. Again, 50 million is probably more realistic, but it's possible that up to 100 million people would actually require a check. Okay, I'm being a bit dramatic. Realism here when it comes to the numbers. Well, maybe 100 million people genuinely need it, but more like 50 to maybe 70 million people genuinely need it, whereas, 100 million excess of that amount, right? Well, let's go over the figures now. As I mentioned at the start of the video, let me go over the specifics. Keep in mind that I told you the total, those 3 checks totaling 850 billion were distributed throughout the course of a single period of time. Now consider this. If they were to issue a single $1,400 check for, say, 50 people, millions of people, how much do you think that would cost? Obviously, if you're even somewhat mathematical, you presumably already know the answer. $70 billion, which is nothing at all. In the broad scheme of things, the $70 billion that is being discussed here is nothing at all. It's true that they give out $70 billion far more readily around the world than they do here. The nation, all right, just stating, all right. We know the specifics of this at this time. But here's another thing. If they were to provide a $1,400 check, all right, just a single $1,400 check to $100 million, a one-time payment to 100 million people, is, once more, calculated to equal $140 billion. This is not much. It represents a very, very little portion of what was actually handed out in that one-year period of time. Covering $850 billion. So what's the point? The reason I'm saying all of this is because we've seen the research, the data, and the figures over the past few years. In fact, you may have heard me discuss these previously. In addition, numerous stories and videos have surfaced, demonstrating that, well, we kind of blew it when it came to stimulus checks. Kind of forget the obvious when it comes to it, as several studies have demonstrated that moving forward in the case that another stimulus check is released, which, incidentally, is not. As I frequently state in my videos, whenever I discuss anything or even make any reference to anything related to this, a stimulus check has not yet been allowed. Not been allowed as of yet, and I'm not sure when something will be approved, but as of now, it hasn't. So I apologize if someone told you they were, tells you that they are, and that I want to clear that up right away. But here's the thing. Studies have very clearly demonstrated, and I repeat, that the claims that they are arriving tomorrow are untrue. The intriguing thing is that, should another stimulus check be required, experts estimate that, at most, 50 million people will require one. This would come with a price tag of roughly $70 billion and roughly $40 billion in the event of a one-time payment of $1,400. That's nothing, so let's just consider it this way. If they were to do this right now, keep in mind that they view that as, given these studies and reports, which show that giving money to those with the lowest incomes accomplishes precisely what they desire. Allow me to quickly explain. I've previously discussed this in earlier films. Let me quickly clarify. They continue to discover that providing financial assistance to those with the lowest incomes boosts the economy in the same way as providing twice or 3 times as much financial assistance to everyone, or a significant portion of the population, should quit hoarding money. Why do middle-class and upper-class individuals, who don't require it as quickly as those with lower incomes, hoard it? They're like a pack of squirrels, man. Spend it wisely and put nuts away. That is the purpose of stimulus checks, excluding middle class and upper class individuals who behave like squirrels and hoard money. That was sort of one of the points that they made a few years back. That of, nuts going away for the winter, and they don't spend it. That is not the purpose of stimulus checks. Because as they were dispersing these payments, they were claiming that people were saving the money and that the goal was for everyone to spend it rather than save it. The purpose of a stimulus check is to boost the economy, so that's the whole idea, right? Well, long story short, moving forward, should another stimulus check be issued, and if something were happen occur, they could handle this much more effectively by taking a few distinct steps.